Welcome back. So in this video, I'm going to be blasting through the tools and toolbars. And I say blasting because we're going to cover some of them again in some later videos, right? So I have an image here that I imported, and to show you quickly, you can go up here to the top and click this to import images. Go to the location and click the image that you want. Oops. And click OK, and it imports it. So you see, so zoom in here. Yeah, imported. So let me just undo that. Right, so I have this image here, and the first tool I'm going to go through is the select tool. So to the top left, you'll see this black arrow, and that's the select tool, obviously. All right, I have pre-traced some artwork, not much. Let's zoom in here. Okay, so the select tool is going to allow you to select things. Pretty straightforward, right? So I can select this piece of artwork here. I can skew it, right? I can scale it. If I hold shift, I can do it uniformly. I can rotate it from the edge here, right? You may have a handle sticking out depending on your settings. And I can move it, obviously, and move the pivot, right? So I can move it. That is the select tool, the end. But the good thing about the select tool is when you have something selected, you can also change its properties. So if you do that, you can see the properties change from this artwork to this artwork. There's not much here. So you can keep that in mind. If you come down, there should be a white arrow. I was messing around earlier, so it changed. But it's the contour editor. And this is, well, is about to be your best friend. If I zoom in here, you can see if I select this corner, it allows me to move that corner by itself, right? Which means that I can edit artwork after I draw it, right? So I can change this handle, zoom out here. I can change the shape of this eye if I really wanted to, right? And it gives you a whole lot of flexibility, right? I can even hold Control and click to add new points, right? We'll be going through that a little bit in the drawing tools video. And you can see here, it changes on this side, right? The contour is on the outside. I'll explain that shortly. But there are some really useful settings for this tool. If I select this, I can click that over here to the right and rotate all the contours at once. All right, that's a bit of a rabbit hole, so we'll just stop there. Right? Okay, so after that is the brush tool. So this might be the most familiar tool to most of you because it's a brush, and many people getting into Harmony come from either a drawing background, digital painting, or they have some experience with brush tools. Don't worry if you don't, it is pretty straightforward. So I can just start drawing. Yay. Yeah. So you can start drawing here, and I'm using an Intuos Pro, which is why you can see I can go from thin to thick, right? So very familiar tools here. Over here you have the size of the brush. You even have some presets, right? And they're not all vector, as you can see. These are bitmap, but these ones are, wait, no, oops, that's bitmap. These ones are vector, right? All right. Says the brush tool. A quick tip: you can hold Control to close it, so you don't have to close it yourself. It's pretty cool. All right, moving on to the pencil tool. Click that. And this is very similar to the brush, except it creates pencil lines. And there's a difference between brush lines and pencil lines. And I actually showed you that already. You just didn't know it. So let's go back to the select tool. Alt S is a shortcut. These are pencil lines where the contour is in the middle of the stroke, right? This allows you to edit it without changing its thickness. Very important. Over to the right is a brush stroke. Now, it also allows you to edit it, but more often than not, you will be changing the thickness, right? Now, since about, I think, Harmony 16, roughly, can't remember exactly, they have introduced the Centerline editor, right? Oops, click and hold on the contour editor and you get this. This kind of gives you the same effect that the pencil tools give you. As you can see, we can edit the middle. Very similar, right? So it kind of cheats. So you can have both, best of both worlds. But obviously it is not a pencil line and you can't expect it to be perfect. But they did a really good job of cheating the flexibility of the pencil tool. So I guess you can get best of both worlds in a sense where this is concerned, right? But there are reasons why, you know, most, if not 90% of TV broadcast production use the pencil line. It just gives way more flexibility, right? So let's move down. We have the stamp tool. If I zoom out here, so I'll go to the left. You probably get this first, right? And this is, I guess, is kind of what it says it is. It's a stamp. So if I click this, I can stamp this all over my scene. Now, I have not come across any production that has required me to use this tool, but that does not mean it is not useful, right? You can store vector art, as you can see. This is a sequence and it's vector, right? You can store a bitmap like what we just saw. If I zoom in here, it's blurred. And this could come in handy. I'm not saying it can't, because obviously this is is very useful. But in production, things are so customized. It's not often you're going to reuse the same thing over and over again, right? But I do implore you to try it out, and you might find yourself using it more than me. Moving down is the eraser. All right, this is pretty straightforward. As you can see, not much settings because it's a very simple tool. It allows you to erase your artwork. So if I do that, it erased my strokes. This works on paint as well. And it works from the back of your stylus as well. So if I'm using the brush tool, and I can flip my stylus here, and it erases it. So very natural workflow, very familiar, should be. I do like to, if I'm drawing something, I do like to hold E and then release, right? For a temporary eraser tool. I find that it's faster than flipping the stylus around, but everyone has their own workflow, right? Let's come down to the text tool. So the text tool is pretty limited, and I'm quite sad about that, but there's not much I can do about it, right? So if the text tool selected, just click here to the left and start typing. Cali, designed by, oops, I'm sorry. Right, so as you can see, pretty straightforward. I'm using some Adobe font here. You know, all your fonts show up. They don't change. You have to click it to change the text. So keep that in mind. So I have to click like A and it changed the text. So I can put this down here. I can change specific text, whatever I have selected. You get the idea, right? Pretty simple, yeah. Let's do that. Yeah. So moving on down, under the text tool is the shape tools, right? So if I click that, I'll get the square. But if I click and hold it, you can see the rectangle, ellipse, line, and polyline. All right. So let us go to this earring, right? Well, this ear. So I can click and drag, and when I release, it creates a rectangle. Now, if we press Alt Q to jump to the contour editor, you can see that this is actually a pencil line, right? We went through this not too long ago. This is a pencil line. So if I click and hold the rectangle tool and come down to the ellipse and do the same thing, go back to the contour editor, oops, this is a pencil line too. So all of these tools are pencil lines. They do not create brush artwork. They create pencil artwork, right? Because it is much easier to edit the pencil artwork than it is to edit the brush. So kind of makes sense, right? Also, another sweet thing is if I select this, Alt S for the select tool, if I select this, I can change the thickness after the fact. Super important. I can't do that with a brush tool, right? Okay, so what was I doing? Right, so these tools are really useful. Quick tip: if you hold Alt, you can draw from the center of the tool. I use this quite often. It's very useful. I won't go through all of them. I mean, the line, it's a line. Oh boy. The polyline is a multi-line where you can bend as you go, right? Very useful. Pretty underrated, if you ask me. So coming down, we have the paint tools. So if I click this, I get to paint stuff. So paint, okay, that is not, it's not what I signed up for there. So if I click and hold, you can see the multiple paint tools we have here, right? We won't be going through all of these quite yet because they're going to be more relevant in the drawing tools video. So let's just go through the first one. Go to color. If I click white with the paint tool, I can click inside here and paint, right? Obviously this worked because these strokes are complete, right? They're closed. If I go back to black paint, oops, and draw something like this and try to paint it, it's not going to paint. The age-old issue of open strokes. So I would have to, oops, close it in order to paint, right? Same thing. The pencil tool is trickier where that is concerned, because if I do this, it's closed, right? Go to paint. Wait a minute. That was not supposed to happen. It was supposed to trick you. Oh, it's closing it for me. All right, just take that off so I can prove my point. Good. It looks closed. Press K to disable the strokes, right? It looks closed, but it isn't, right? It's not going to paint. So if you press K, you can see that these strokes here are open, right? So don't let them fool you. You will have to cross the strokes in order to fill the area, right? So keep that in mind. But it looks like Harmony was nice enough to leave this option on by default, which is quite nice, right? All right, so coming down, we have the Eyedropper tool. So I can select this to find the color that I want. Now this tool is for vector colors, right? So, well, sorry, I shouldn't say it's for vector colors. It's for anything. However, it is more useful to me because I work in a vector workflow, right? And what I mean is if I go over to the node view here to my object, it means that I can select a color here without clicking it. So I can select white, select black, and any other color I may have used in this drawing. That's quite nice. The pivot tool is what it says it is, but the reason why we're not going to use it is because this is the pivot tool for the drawing. And we're not animating on the drawing. We're animating using pegs. So we don't actually need this right now. I'll probably go through this at some point in a rigging course, maybe. The Morph tool here. This allows you to edit any morphs you have going on. So I'll just quickly show you something here. Control R, morph us. Let's draw this. Select these, press D, disable that. So I'll show you an example really quickly. We have a circle. I want a bigger circle. Nice. Here and on this frame we have a square. Oh god. So we have circle, square, right? If I select these, press Alt M shortcut, is going to morph into a square, right? So this tool allows me to edit some of those settings. So I can ease into the, I don't know why it says ease in there. It's ease out because you're easing out of the, anyway, I can edit those settings. So that's a quick look at that. All right. So disable that, press A. Good. Let's go back to frame 1. All right. So that's the morph tool. The last one here is the pan. This is pretty straightforward. It allows you to pan and move around in your scene. This can be useful if your spacebar key isn't working. But yeah, it's here if you need it, right? And so are the other, so are your other navigation tools. But we already have shortcuts for these. So, but you can drag a little jumps. So those help you to navigate around Harmony. But we use 1 and 2 and spacebar. And Control Alt. Hold Control Alt. Allows you to rotate the view. Not the actual camera, but the view. Right. So come down here, actually press Shift S to reset the rotation. Right, so if we come here, we have the animate switch, toggle, whatever you want to call it. There's a little stick figure. And in later versions of Harmony, you're going to have 3 options, or maybe more. Animate current frame, onion skin range, and off. In older versions, it's just one button and it goes from this to this, right? This is going to become more clear in later videos, but basically it allows you to edit all of your animation at once when it is red. And when it is yellow, it allows you to animate like a normal person, right? The next tool here is the transform tool. So this is pretty much the same as the select tool, but for animation, right? So it allows you to, let me create a peg quickly here, right? It allows you to move your artwork, rotate it. You can see the pivot is there, scale it and skew it, right? Same as the select tool, but it does not affect your artwork. My artwork can remain unchanged. It affects, oops. So if I were to do that, if I click this and go in the drawing view, my artwork is unaffected. So these are animation tools, not drawing tools. Yeah. After that is the inverse kinematics tool. I won't dwell on this too long because it isn't used a whole lot in the industry, right? So we're not really going to talk about that, but those coming from 3D are going to be very familiar with that type of workflow, right? And lastly, we have the onion skin tools. So I'll go back to transform. So if I were to, let me just extend this here quickly, create a keyframe here. I'm going to disable the reference so we can see this clearly. If I come here and move this over, you can see, I can see a ghost of the previous frames. So it allows me to see where the last drawings were, the last positions, and the next positions. See, 1, 2, and by default it has here the last 2 and the next 2. So I can extend this so I can see only 1. Nice, right? So pretty useful, obviously, and very important for any animator's toolkit. Yeah. So those are the tools from the main toolbar. I'll be flying fast going through the others because those are a bit less important, and we're going to cover those as we go as well. So let's go over to the drawing view and select our drawing here. So over here would be the more important, well, these apply to both views, the more important icons for right now. So we have the line art, color art, underlay, and overlay, right? I haven't drawn anything on these layers, but if I were Alt S, select tool, I can cut that from there, paste it here, and now I have my earring separate, right? But is in the same drawing, and that is pretty useful, right? We'll go through some of this a bit later. I'm sorry, I keep saying that, but trust me, please. Yeah, so we also have the light table tool. Let's enable our reference here so that we can see it. So this allows you to see the reference in the background as you draw and create your stuff, right? So that's kind of it for now. Newer versions of Harmony will have the mirror view. Very good for designers and, well, anybody, I guess. So let's go over to the library, because the tool properties is basically a toolbar in disguise, and it changes depending on what tool you have selected. So I don't think we have enough time to go through the properties for every single tool, because that is ridiculous. There are too many tools, right? So you can explore that on your own time, and trust me, it actually is a bit fun. Yeah, so let's go over to the library, which is also pretty straightforward. So if I go here to my other library, you can see that I have the thumbnails, right? But I can change the view up here. So I can click that and I get no pictures, just description. No one likes that. All right, I'm just kidding. But yeah, it isn't as useful visually, right? And you can get a mixture of both, right? So you can see here, I have a little icon showing me that this is an image. The icons will change depending on the type of file that it is, right? So, but thumbnails can't really go wrong, right? Pretty sweet. This allows you to refresh the library in case you made a change in Windows and it has not updated here, right? Coming down, let's look at the color panel. And while I would like to go through this in depth, this is a beginner course, so I don't want to, I'm going to keep it beginner, right? So the important parts here are the plus sign to add more colors, the minus sign to delete colors, and then the plus sign over here to add more palettes. Click plus. Don't worry about these settings for now. Just create your palette. Click OK. And minus to delete the palette. Right? That's all we need to know for now. But the color system in Harmony is super powerful. Right? Pretty legit. Let's go over to the node view. And we went through some of this already. The node view is also quite complex when you start diving deep. But for now, if you want, we can just look at a few of these. So if I select this, this will disable it and this will enable it, right? Let's go in the camera view so we can see that better. So we'll disable it. This will enable it, right? This will order your network if it gets messy. If you select these and click that, click OK. Did a bit of a poor job there, huh? Oh yeah, you don't have to select them. My bad. So if you click this, yes, you do have to select them. What was I thinking? So if you click this, some settings show up. You can play with those and click OK. It spaces them out, right? So 3 of these allow you to edit that, right? I like this one, obviously, because it is beautiful. So if you also have something selected and you're zoomed out or it's off, you can click this to center it, right? Another shortcut for that is O. Press O. It's going to center it. It's not going to zoom in for you all the time, but it will center it, right? And those are the main tools you need to know for right now. Let's look here to the node library, and these are also pretty straightforward, right? So same as the library view, it is a library after all. You can have just details, no icons, just icons, no details, and a mixture, which is quite nice. I like just icons because I'm very familiar and they're pretty. So let's go over to the timeline and close out, right? Yeah, it's pretty straightforward. This is where you will view your animation, or at least control the keyframes. Where you control the keyframes for your scene, right? So you can play, pause, do all that good stuff, loop it, sound. I will go through more of this in the timeline video, but I just wanted to give you an overview of the toolbars in Harmony, right? So I hope this was pretty explanatory and you learned a lot, and I'll see you in the next one where we'll be going through the workspace and customizing your workspace. All right. So thank you for watching. Peace.